In recent weeks, even two members of my closest council, the chapter of our cathedral, have been suddenly seized from their homes by the Gestapo, removed from Munster and banished to distant places. Since then, I have received no reply whatever to the protests which I addressed to the Minister of Ecclesiastical Affairs. But it has at any rate been established by telephone inquiries to the Gestapo that neither of the canons has been accused or is suspected of any punishable offense. Without any guilt on their part, they have incurred the penalty of banishment, without any charge against them and without any opportunity to defend themselves. My Christians, hear what I say. It's been officially confirmed that Canons Warwick and Eckelmeyer are accused of no crime. They have done nothing meriting punishment, and yet they have been punished with banishment. And why? Because I did something that did not please the government. Of the 4 appointments of canons made in the past 2 years, the government informed me that they objected to 3. Since the Prussian Concordat of 1929 expressly excludes any right of objection by the government, I confirmed the appointment in 2 of the cases. In doing so, I committed no wrong, but merely exercised my established right, as I can prove at any time. Let them bring me to court if they think that I have acted contrary to the law. I am sure that no independent German court could condemn me for my actions in the appointment of these canons. Was it because of this that the matter was handled not by the court, but by the Gestapo, whose actions in the German Reich are unfortunately not subject to any judicial review? Against the superior power of the Gestapo, every German citizen is entirely without protection or defense. Entirely without protection or defense. In recent years, many Germans have experienced this in their own person, like our beloved teacher of religion, Friedrichs, who is held prisoner without any legal process or sentence, like the 2 canons, who are now living in banishment. And again, it is experienced by those religious orders who yesterday and today have been suddenly expelled from their property, their city, and their province. None of us is safe. He may know that he is the most loyal and conscientious of citizens, and may he be conscious of his complete innocence. He cannot be sure that he will not someday be deported from his home, deprived of his freedom, and locked up in the cellars and concentration camps of the Gestapo. I am aware of the fact this can also happen to me today or some other day. And because then I shall not be able to speak to you any longer, I will speak publicly today. Publicly, I will warn against the continuance in a course which I am firmly convinced will bring down God's judgment on men and must lead to disaster and ruin for the people and our country. But I protest against these actions and these punishments by the Gestapo when I call publicly for an end to this state of affairs and for the judicial review or reversal of all actions by the Gestapo. I do no more than Governor General and Reich Minister Dr. Hans Frank has done, writing in January of this year in a journal of the Academy of German Law. He said, "We desire to achieve a well-balanced system of internal order in which penal law does not degenerate into the absolute authority of the prosecution over an accused person who is condemned in advance and deprived of any means of defense. The law must offer the individual the legal opportunity of defending himself, of establishing the facts, and thus securing himself against arbitrariness and injustice. Otherwise, we better speak not of penal law, but of penal authority. It's impossible to reconcile a fabric of law with a sentence pronounced without any defense. It is our task to proclaim no less loudly and with no less emphasis that others defend authority in every form, that we have courageously to assert the authority of the law as an essential element in any enduring power. These are the words of Reich Minister Dr. Hans Frank. I'm conscious that as a bishop, a promulgator and defender of the legal and moral order willed by God and granted to each individual rights and freedoms to which, by God's will, all human claims must give way. I'm called upon no less than Reich Minister Frank courageously to assert the authority of the law and to denounce the condemnation of innocent men who were without any defense as an injustice crying out to heaven. By Christians, the imprisonment of many blameless persons without any authority for opportunity for defense or any judgment of a court, the deprivation of the liberty of the two canons, the closing of religious houses, and the eviction of guiltless religious, our brothers and sisters, compel me today to publicly recall an old and unshakable truth. Justitia est fundamentum regiorum. Justice is the only solid foundation of any state. The right to life, to inviolability, to freedom is an indispensable part of any moral order of society. It is true that the state is entitled to restrict these rights as a penal measure against its citizens, but the state is only entitled to do so against those who have broken the law and whose guilt has been established as an impartial judicial process. A state which transgresses the boundary laid down by God and permits or causes innocent persons to be punished is undermining its own authority and the respect for its sovereignty in the conscience of its citizens. Unfortunately, however, we have repeatedly seen in recent years how penalties of the greater or lesser severity, usually involving terms of imprisonment, have been imposed and carried out without the victim's guilt having been proven in a regular court of law or without giving him any opportunity of asserting his right to prove his innocence. How many Germans are now languishing in police custody or in concentration camps? How many have been driven from home who have never been sentenced by a regular court? Or how numerous are those who have been freed by the court or released after serving their sentence and have then been rearrested and held in confinement by the Gestapo? How many have been expelled from their hometown and the town where they worked? Here again, I'll remind you of the venerable Bishop of Rottenburg, Johann Baptist Sproul, an old man of 70, who not long ago had to celebrate the 25th Jubilee as a bishop far away from his diocese, in which the Gestapo had banned him from 3 years ago.